Hello, everyone.
Hi. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I think everybody's super excited for this event. I think we have a lot of new signups from people who've never heard of TechPod before. So this is kind of an exciting time to kind of talk about what we do a little bit, and then we're gonna get Anastasia on.
Yeah. So let's introduce ourselves, I guess. Um, I am Joseph. I'm one of the co-founders of TechPod. I'm a student at University of Michigan, and we started TechPod this summer because we're really passionate about the business side of the tech industry. There's a lot of interesting roles in the business side. You don't have to be a coder for. You don't have to know any programming. Um, and we actually have a TechPod newsletter that sends out free job postings, like the newest job postings, so you know what to apply to in the business side of tech. And that goes out every week. And Lynn is our newsletter writer. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, practically, I'm the newsletter writer. So actually, if Joseph, you can pull up a screen of what the newsletter kind of look like, so that we can show everybody what goes on in a newsletter. So essentially, what we kind of try to do is kind of show you guys information um, relating to tech, but in a very casual, hopefully Gen Z, fun, cute, engaging way. Like we just want to make it like as super fun as possible to read because some things are just not fun. Like HTML when you say like that, and then you talk about more coding, right? But we're here because we're one of the people who are interested in non-tech side to get into tech. But we do need to know these like super important information. So yeah, so Joseph was kind of scrolling. It's a very casual manner. Right here, we're actually introducing job. So like exploring different kind of jobs within like tech industry. So we have like very specific roles in human resources. And here we're just kind of like giving you guys information, and then we show you current job posting, and then we give like job interview advice, coffee chat advice, and all the fun stuff that you kind of get to learn about. So definitely subscribe to our newsletter, and we always try to make sure like you get what you guys want, so you can always request kind of content you guys want. We also try to host events that you guys want as well. Yeah.
Yes. And if you look at our last newsletter, we're actually giving away Clubhouse invites. So Clubhouse is like a super cool new app where you can network. We had a Clubhouse room last night with TechPod, and a bunch of people were just like getting connected with people and getting their foot in the door at companies that they want to work at. So it was super cool to see. So the app is invite only, but we have a bunch of invites within the TechPod team. So if you want to get a Clubhouse invite, sign up for the TechPod newsletter. It's in the chat. And then you can actually go right here and just fill out the survey. Um, yeah, so Lynn, you can introduce Anastasia, I guess.
Yeah. Can you bring? I think I'm not in the host. Can you bring her up? I'm accidentally not signed in.
Yeah.
Hey everyone.
Hey Anastasia, I'm so excited to talk about like okay, so we're gonna talk about personal branding. I think a lot of you guys know Anastasia from LinkedIn, and us too at Tech5. We are focused on LinkedIn, and so feel free to in the chat talk to us about what you think about personal branding, or you have any questions relating to personal branding, any questions, top performing pose, bad performing pose. We're gonna talk about all of that today. So remember, go into the comment and we will talk about it. Um, so yeah, Anastasia, why don't you kind of like introduce yourself in a way, like, how do you want people to see you, and, like kind of talk about personal branding too, right? And how you want to show yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, first of all, TechBots, thanks so much for bringing me on. I've been a huge fan for a while since you guys started, so thanks for bringing me on. It's
So
super
exciting.
special to be here. But for those of you who don't know me, I'm Anastasia. I'm currently, I guess, like we all kind of start with our job title. Well, I'm currently a recruiter at Tesla. But not too long ago, I was a student too. I actually graduated in December of 2019, so it feels like a long time ago, but wasn't too long ago that I was also just trying to figure out the world, just trying to figure out, what do I do? What do I want to do in life? Where do I want to go? And I'm still doing that. Just because you graduate and get a job doesn't mean you have those things figured out. But realistically, I didn't really know much about personal branding. I didn't really know what that was. I didn't know that you had to do that or what it entailed. It was a lot. I think it's becoming a hot topic and a hot word, but I don't know, maybe for me back in 2019, I didn't really know much about it and haven't heard much about it. But realistically, when COVID hit, it was a top kind of idea of mine for me that it's potential for me to lose my job, right? Early 2020, actually. When COVID hit and people were starting to lose their jobs, I realistically thought I was going to lose my job too. I came to the realization that I was like, look, Anastasia, like, if you lose your job tomorrow, what are you going to do? Who's going to remember you? How are people going to remember you? How are you going to outreach, right? And then it was an active decision for me to just start, how can I share my knowledge, for people in a mass market? I can't create a portfolio because my work experience is very internal based and confidential under NDA. So what can I do? And at the time, I was like, let's start posting on LinkedIn and see where it goes. And that's kind of brought me to where I am today, right? By no means do I think I'm, the most successful person on LinkedIn, but I've definitely learned my fair share of kind of like what works and what doesn't, right? And I'm super excited to share with you guys because I think, my quote unquote success on LinkedIn isn't unique to me by any means. I'm not an expert. I, don't even have a degree in HR if you want to really get down to the, technicalities, but you just learn things and you pick them up. And I think that's, the best way to succeed on social media is to learn from each other. So excited to answer any of your questions and to just have a conversation with you, Lynn.
Yeah, that's actually, I just cannot agree enough because like for me, I definitely I focus on personal branding, and wow, it was like a world changing experience. Like I made so many friends, and they have literally learned so much about tech just being friends with them. And that was it, right? And the reason why they knew me was because I put myself out there and put out words and stories, and then they reach out, and then you reach out, right? And then there's just this connection right off the bat, which is very exciting. So it's and it's definitely life changing. So anybody is interested in putting themselves out there, kind of going through personal development, putting yourself out there, it's a scary thing to do. Actually, I kind of want you to talk about that. Was it scary for you when you first started?
100%. I think that's, that imposter syndrome, it never goes away. Even if I make posts today, it seems flawless on the flip side when you see the post on LinkedIn, but nobody really realizes the process of writing a post, the process of editing a post, the coming up with an idea, thinking about, does this go against anything, maybe my company would stand against? Can I share this publicly? Right? There's a lot of fear. And going back to my first post, right, making that first post is really interesting now, kind of analyzing my experience back when I was making that first post, was that, I didn't feel like an expert. I didn't feel like I knew more than the person sitting next to me. I always thought, what would I share with people? Everyone knows what I know. I don't have a technical degree. I'm not an engineer. What am I going to share with people? What would people want to hear? And definitely making that first post was scary. But I knew, if I could even just add 10% of value to whether that was my best friend who's in my network or a random stranger on the internet, it was going to be worth it to me. So I think that's just kind of how I started. And once you kind of see the response or see the benefit that people find from your content, it's all worth it from there on. And that's kind of what's pushed and drove me to continue, because I see the value and I see the benefit that people kind of reply to me in response to me as, and I'm like, I want to pay it forward just as much as other people have done for me.
I cannot agree more when you said all of that, right? Because I think from my personal experience and from what I've seen other people ask, they always ask content creators or anybody who just write posts, especially on LinkedIn, in a platform where it's a professional vibe. And so people are just so scared of oh, I have to know exactly what I'm saying. You don't have to you're sharing your experience. Nobody's asking you to be the expert of 20 years. It's impossible. There's no way you're gonna get that. And so a lot of people feel scared I don't know what I'm saying. But honestly, you have so much value to give. Even an 8-year-old, you're gonna have value to give on their own, because it's their personal perception and how you share it, right? Nobody's gonna have the same thinking as you do.
Exactly.
And so you never know what's gonna work, and you never know. Like, don't expect things to go viral. Like, I don't think don't make content thinking like, okay, I'm gonna go viral. Like, just do it for fun. Do it to meet people. Do it to put yourself out there, having good, productive conversations. Like, you can even say like, hey, I don't even know what this is. Can you guys talk to me about it? Like, honestly, there's unlimited potential. Think of it like a Facebook, but don't really use it like Facebook. But, you know, the casualness of it, like. People are people, you know. They're not looking at you from like if you notice, I mean, what I noticed was like really popular posts, like the ones that go viral, like a lot of them are funny or just like literally just jokes. We are okay. It's okay to be funny on a professional platform. Just because it's professional doesn't mean it has to be stiff or like all buttoned up and professional, right? So what kind of posts do you like, Anastasia?
Yeah, well, obviously my posts are mostly steered towards recruiting, just because that's kind of where I find I have the most value to add. But if I was to speak on posts that I really enjoy, it's just the posts that are just the most honest and real and just genuine. Like people who just share their genuine experiences versus being very professional, which is really funny because I feel like people see LinkedIn as this, like, just like you said, it's this professional, super like suit and tie kind of platform. But in fact, like the most viral / interesting posts that I read and save are the most just genuine ones. People that are like, I failed at this. I didn't get this. This was my this is what I messed up on this week. Because I think that's the most relatable kind of content. And because people, we're all human beings and people want to relate to human beings. And sometimes that can be hard in words, right? But when it's a feeling and an emotion, that's something you can almost, in a sense, like respond to and kind of like hold on to.
It's like connecting with them on a personal level, right? Because I think of it as like making friends. Like when people, I don't like the word network. It seems like there's like you're adding them to your network as, think of it as friendship, building relationship with people, and it's gonna take a lot of pressure when you are building your personal brand. So what do you think what are good stories? Is there any particular story that you kind of like remember off the bat, because so that people can have like a frame of reference, right? So it's one thing to like tell your story, but in what way?
It's a good one. I think one post I really liked recently. I forget who it was, but it was actually someone posting about someone reposting someone else's essentially post, which was their like unique cover photo. I think you saw that, right?
Yes, I'm gonna try to find a link and I'm gonna try to share it with you guys.
Okay,
that was very cool.
Yep. So basically, for context, for those of you while Lynn is pulling it up, essentially someone on LinkedIn created a really creative cover photo. They actually had one of their design friends kind of create a cover photo that was almost like what is it called? Like a roadmap of their life and interests. And I just thought that was super creative and unique and just something different that I haven't seen anyone else do. And the reason why I thought it was so special too was because it had a lot of personal touch to it. It wasn't just saying like, I worked here and I got this job and then I got this honors award and it was this. And it was like, in that cover photo was talking about, I forget what it was, like I like ice cream or something, it was just like, it just felt so personal. And so just like, I felt like I knew this person, even though we've never met and never chatted. And you can see that the comments on that post were just very, very in awe kind of such a simple kind of, switch of design, something that we all have cover photos, right? Most of us, there's probably like our favorite city or where we work at or promoting our own business. Which is all great. Not to say that any of that is bad. I just thought, it was a creative way to do something. And that's something that's going to stick in my mind, but also inspire me. I'm actually working on, updating a cover photo now that could be something similar. There we go. That's the one.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see, you can like zoom in at like the cover banner. Like you can see like it's super like it's like telling a story.
Yeah.
You always want to tell. You don't want all facts, right? Like the thing that keeps people that remembers you is a story that you tell. It's the thing you tell about yourself. If you represent yourself as a professional, but in a very stiff manner with just a bunch of facts, people are not gonna remember it. Tie those information together and to make it like an engaging read, and that kind of shows a lot of the personality about what they think, how relaxed they feel. It says a lot, so I would definitely consider that.
I would also add, Lynn, one more thing to this is that something I always try to remind people, which I think people forget about on LinkedIn, but on your resume, the first third part of your resume, that top first third, is like the most expensive, quote unquote, real estate, right? That's the first part of your resume that people see. And if you think about it, that's the same thing on the LinkedIn, right? But yet so many of us don't use that real estate value. But now when you click on that person's profile, you see that cover photo, your eye is drawn to it, right? Your eye is drawn to take a look at it, read it. Even you haven't even scrolled down to anything about that person, but yet you've already got such a unique snapshot. So shout out to, I forget his name, sorry, I'm really bad at names, but shout out to that person.
Yeah, I would say like first impression matters a lot too, right? And how
I
you present
agree.
yourself. Yeah, and like that's why and people tend to like also stalk your profile, too. So definitely make sure everything is like all in order, your experience, your content, the things you say, definitely the things you say are gonna matter as well.
Yeah.
I would say for a moment, can we talk about like the experience section on the profile? Like what is there anything that stand out to you? Like, I think that I've seen some people have fun with the experience section and they literally just make it like the complete joke, but in a very engaging way. It's funny. But so what do you think about it? Like, should there be like a general rule, or do you think it's just kind of like the same? There's no such thing as all size fit all.
I think in terms of, I'll play like devil's advocate for both sides. So, right, there's a flip side where I'll speak as a recruiter and then also the kind of like content creator, writer. So as a recruiter, it drives me insane when people don't have their LinkedIn profiles updated, because, when I'm looking for people on LinkedIn who maybe haven't applied to our roles, don't know about open positions at Tesla, I'm actively looking for those. And I land on people's profiles that are just like, just the titles are like architecture intern. And I'm like, that's great. But like, what did you do? Like, I would love to have you interview for the teams, but like, do I, spend my time reaching out to you only to find out that, your experiences at that company don't align with what I'm looking for, right? At the bare minimum, I always try to remind people, just copy paste at the bare minimum what is on your resume to your LinkedIn, right? But LinkedIn has so much of an expansive opportunity, right? So you can write more, you can add attachments. So I would say that's really important. That's where I do really, really recommend including bullet points. I have seen on the flip side the more funny ones, which I think are really just unique to read and are just like a fresh breath of air. I will say that. But I would say maybe just be careful with that, right? If maybe you're not actively recruiting for a position right now, and you're kind of, in a comfortable position, like you'd be open to a new opportunity, but meaning that like, if someone lands on your profile, it's up to date in that sense. But I would say if you're actively looking for a role and you need a job or you're looking for your internship, like maybe a little bit more straight to the point and just like directly what you're working on would be a little bit more powerful.
Would you say like the about section, which one is more important to focus on, the about section or the experience section?
Yeah, well, I think, I don't think we could choose one or the other because I think both benefit one another, right? An about section is nothing without any experience section filled out, but also the experience section is not as powerful if you don't have the about section. If I had to choose one, of course, stick with the experience section, at the very least have that done. But again, when I was talking about the power of LinkedIn and how expansive it is and how much you can really dive deep into it, is that on LinkedIn, you have that about section, something you never have space for on your on your resume. So use that space wisely, right? Don't just rewrite and tell me you're a mechanical engineer major and you're a junior in university, right? Don't say that. Your experience section already tells me that. Tell me who you are. Tell me what drives you, what wakes you up every day, what gets you up, right? What excites you? What are your hobbies, right? Like add that personal touch to it that brings back the human aspect to applications.
Yeah, I would say that LinkedIn is a place that you can really be creative Like your resume, you have to list the thing that really matters to like the job description. But if you're trying to get attention, and if they check your LinkedIn, like that's the entire room up for you, how you want to present yourself in a more holistic way, because you can share the kind of stuff you want to share in the about section, in the experience section, through your content. Super important. And I don't think I think a lot of people are really scared to actually post. Like I would recommend like starting commenting to get used to the vibe, and then slowly, build up that confidence to make a post, because at the end of the day, you will attract the kind of people who likes your things, who likes your content, your thoughts, and then you start to build a community. And once you build a community, then you become like really good friends with the people, and it just feels natural. And that's what personal branding is. It's not just you, it's also like the people around you and what they think about you and so on.
Exactly. One other kind of like helpful tip I'll give about the about section too is remember that when you go on someone's profile, I believe it's like, I think you can only see the first 2 to 3 lines of someone's about section. So something I was taught pretty early on is that, make sure that your about section, the first 2 to 3 lines are a hook, right? So whenever someone reads that hook, they want to click that see more button and read more about your about me section, right? Because obviously when you log into someone's profile, you're only going to see those 2-3 lines. And if it's boring in some context, you're probably going to scroll past it, right? But if it's engaging, you're like, wow, like they like to hike Mount Everest. Cool. Like I like to do that too, or that's fascinating. I want to read more. So you're pulling someone in to read more about you, and eventually, connect with you, send you a message, and so forth.
Just when you just said that, I literally just went to my like LinkedIn profile and was like, okay, I'm redoing everything. Like, that was important, right? Because it's what you can see first, and people have to make people curious to read more about you. You know, like think about like like a hook or like a clickbait, but in a nice clickbait, like not like false. Like always have truth to the clickbaits, right? But make it really interesting. That's definitely one way to do it.
Yeah, Lynn, maybe one more thing we could talk about too is like the headline. What do you think about headlines, and what's your 2 cents on that?
I actually, fun fact, I have a lot of people add me just on my headline alone. Because if you guys check my LinkedIn, I'm not gonna tell you guys what it is. I'll let you guys check it out, connect with me, wink wink. And the people, it is so crazy that people keep referring to me about my headline, because I put a sentence that catches their attention. And they always comment, they're like, oh, I like your headline. So that already on like so that helped me connect with people. I know that they like me, like my humor, and hopefully like they're like stunned by it, right? And it's memorable. Like people often are like, oh yeah, you're the girl with that headline. Always. And then they were like, is it something like this? But like as long as they can refer to the idea and the concept, you're sold. So and absolutely another thing is like not just only the things that you want to focus on, but also the keywords that you want to be found on. I find that I put words like branding or content marketing or like growth, and then I see a lot of like whenever you look into your experience, like you can see like how many people are searching you up and what kind of search experience you have, appearances that you have, and a lot of them are along the lines of the words I have in my headline. So I can assume that was like the biggest drive. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's actually, I love that, because I feel like most people, I love that you opened up that story. Most people don't really realize the power of headlines, right? I don't have a super creative headline, which I think I could probably get inspiration from you, Lynn. Maybe you can help me afterwards. But I think it's a really great idea. I, for the longest time, didn't have a headline at all, which is kind of funny. I didn't even realize like what is the purpose of a headline. I just like knew you had a profile, and then you had your like about section, and then you had your like experiences. But kind of retrospect, like if you step back, think about like, if someone doesn't even land on your LinkedIn page quite yet, they just see you through a comment, through a post, right? Like the 3 things they see about you without ever going on your page is your photo, your name, and your headline. So without ever, landing on your page, those are the 3 things someone sees about you. So what story do you want to tell? So obviously Lynn has a story that people see before even landing on her page. For me, when someone sees me, they know, okay, I'm a recruiter at Tesla. I have a product. I'm in product management, again, talking about those keywords. I am, man, I don't even remember what my headline is. Obviously it's not very, very good if I don't even remember. But one thing, kind of the formula I like to recommend people when they're starting off and not really sure what to do for their headline is think about it this way. Start off with what you're doing, then go into your keywords, and then add something you're either working on the side or something you're aspiring to do. So mine says aspiring product manager, which a lot of people find really interesting. And, they ask me like, hey, Anastasia, like, why would you put that if you have a current job? Like, why are you putting that out there? And for me, it's for a couple of different reasons. First of all, it keeps me accountable. It's something I want to work towards and something I want to grow towards. So it keeps me accountable to say, hey, Anastasia, like, start seeing yourself as this product manager. You can grow towards that. Putting it out in the world, like, almost makes it official, right? Secondly, people start to see me in a different lens, right? People start to see me like, oh, Anastasia is a product manager. Anastasia could be a product manager. Maybe we should consider Anastasia for a product manager role down the line, right? So it starts to see you and shift you. And that's, again, your story. That's how people see you. And that's the perspective people have on you.
I actually really love that you said aspiring, product manager, because I know for a fact that whenever you share your story and then you say, oh, I want to go into this direction, and whoever you're talking to, they might have a connection or they might know something or can lead you to resources. Like, it has been incredible when you share your story. Like, I have a lot of people like know that I'm into marketing or like into copywriting, newsletter. People are like reaching out like, hey, I saw this resource. Like, you might like it. And like they think of you in that sense because they know of your interest. So definitely do that. Like, make that a part. Like, your interest is what make you.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And definitely, I would say there's just so many things to talk about the personal branding that this 1 hour might not even be enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, also, fun fact, the thing I love is like the little voice box where you can like, pronounce your name. So what I did there is like, I was like, like, if you want to have a chat with me, like, go ahead and like, message and so on. But like, that's a really good way to market yourself and show your personality. Like, joke a little bit, like, you say something. Like, I wanted to do that, but I haven't gotten around to it because I haven't used that box in a very long time.
Yeah.
But there's so many little small things. Like, if people look into the details of your profile, like everything, you can make it so fun for people to check out your profile.
I agree.
It's everywhere. Anywhere you can type, anywhere you can input anything about yourself, make it you. Yeah. I definitely would say that.
Lynn, I'm going to grab my controller, my charger really quick. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. So while she does that, how about you guys put in the comments what you guys want to know about, like more about LinkedIn, any questions, any comments. And thank you so much for connecting with me. I started just seeing people connect with me. It's super awesome. And yeah, like I can't wait to see like you guys' profile. Like after you guys like edit and make it like super fun, that would be super, super awesome.
All right, I'm back.
That was quick. That was actually super, super quick. Let's see. Let's talk about. Let me try to figure out. I think it's good to talk about let's talk about content. So when people we talk about like we get scared of putting ourselves out there. So let's say we did put ourselves out there. And how do you deal with people who, like, trolls or people who, are just saying words like, oh, you're overdoing it. Like you're too much. Because I have to say, on my end of story, I have so many people telling me like, oh my God, that's so cringy. Or like, because they don't use the platform. Like, guys, come on. Like, But on the other hand, I made so many friends. I was just sharing my stories and I made so many friends. And that, I guess you can say they become my connection, but they're my friends, right? And it's just incredible. But I think if everybody who posts, they're going to have to go through like, oh my gosh, I'm posting content. Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting experience. People have started to recognize me. I really like this question by Saran. I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name on Serene. Are you recognized at your company for having a LinkedIn presence? Has it opened up opportunities for you at work? So obviously I'm a recruiter and I work with a ton of different hiring managers and candidates. Pretty much all of my hiring managers know about my LinkedIn presence. It's kind of a running joke between my team at the company. My director knows about it. My VP knows about it. Everyone knows about it. So it's definitely, at times it's kind of cringy. Like you said, it's like, I appreciate that they know about it, but it also is I have to be very mindful about what I post, right? I have to be careful that like, whoever sees this, it has to stay professional. And if I'm posting my own opinion, it has to be, not, speaking on the company's behalf, right? And I will say like, there are going to be people who may just like not understand why you're creating content or may just not appreciate it. But I will say the overwhelming experience for me has been very, very positive, right? Like, sure, people may not, like I said, may not understand and may think you're like overdoing it, but you're just putting yourself out there, right? You're the one who is building something for yourself. So if anything was to happen for you, you have a fallback plan. You have a name for yourself. You have something that is, I would almost say like weight behind your name, right? Like if you, lost your job tomorrow, who's going to know you and who's going to be there to support you, right? Compared to, for example, for myself, I know I have a network of people that I've met through LinkedIn that have my back, that people I can lean on and ask for help and support versus someone else who doesn't have any kind of presence online, just has their piece of paper resume and is trying to, get places and do things, right? It's a lot harder. So, you do have to kind of come, when you do kind of move into the idea of posting and creating content, like you do have to realize it is going to be seen by people, right? And the more you post and the more you grow, the more it's going to happen. People from my high school know about it. Parents know about it. Yeah. And, it's kind of like, if you think about it this way, like nothing you're doing is bad, right? Everything you're doing is just to grow your own wealth and knowledge and value. Like if, I would say if anyone says anything bad about it, it's probably just because they're jealous because they don't want to do it themselves or just feel uncomfortable to do it themselves, right?
Yeah, they don't understand. I think that's the main thing to remember is that they don't understand. And like if you're doing it to improve your personal value, do it. This is you and your future. Like is what they say gonna affect you? Are they gonna get you a job? If they do, then I'm not gonna say anything about that. But
exactly.
Like, right. So
okay.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say something someone brought up to me recently was the idea that like is one person's opinion or like one person's negative aspect of how they see you gonna, detract you from the hundreds of other positive opinions of you and the hundreds of other positive impressions that people are going to have you, right? There's always going to be one person that's a Debbie Downer and just going to be seeing you as negative. If that's who they are, just remove them from your life or just ignore them and move on.
Yeah, I would say don't take things personal because I think like whenever you create content, and let's say you do scale, you're always gonna find somebody who's gonna have something to say about you. I remember there was one time I made a post and I got trolled, and I just looked into it and I look at their profile and I'm like, oh my goodness, they'd be going through all like the content and they've been saying like things that should not be said on LinkedIn. It's terrible. And from that point on, I was like, okay, I didn't worry about it anymore because it wasn't me. It wasn't personal. Exactly. So people don't understand. So I think that's one way to think about it. I mean, you can always hide in your pillow when you hit send, hide in your pillow, just forget about it and just wait until the comments or the likes come in or something. Yeah. But also try not to worry too much about the likes and the comments. If it helps one person, I think that's good. Like call it a day. I think like that's what I try to do whenever I first started creating content.
Agreed.
Yeah. So actually right here we have Nicole who asked, how do we strategically tune our content toward our career goal?
Ooh, that's a good one. I can start off on this one, Lynn. I think you probably have some value to add here too. For me, I'm a recruiter on my day-to-day job, right? So my content kind of revolves around my day-to-day job, right? Something I see or something that happens in my day-to-day job, I either vent about it or I recommend like tips about it so people can improve on it, right? It's kind of inspiration that I pull from. And that's why it comes easy to me because it's something that I'm naturally passionate about and naturally do every single day. So that's kind of where, the natural flow of that goes from, right? I mentioned that I'm interested in product management at some point. If I'm let's say I'm going to start moving towards that direction, I would curate my posts and my content towards that. So, right, maybe I would post about, recruiting technology and how that's evolving, right? How is that, evolving in a space? I recently posted about, working on a personal website where I can create content that is long lasting, right? That's aspect of product marketing, product management. So starting to, it doesn't have to be a overnight switch, right? It can be a slow switch where you're starting to ingrain other aspects of topics or other aspects of content, I would say, into what you're currently doing right now. If you're just starting off, right, just start posting about things that, are around your topic, of, expertise, I would say, right? So as I mentioned before, right, recruiting is just naturally an easy thing for me to talk about because I do it every single day. Like if you were asking me to talk about boxing, like I don't know anything about boxing, right? Like it would take me a lot more work to do research and to try to find out, like, what do I know about boxing, right? It would take me longer to write posts. It would take me longer to, think about content. But for me, recruiting is just something that naturally comes easy. So for me, I can sit down in a day, write a post and post the next day. So I would say if that's where you're starting off at, start there. Start within your topic of expertise, whether that's like going to boba shops or, making postcards for your friends or making slime. I don't know, whatever it is, just start posting about it because it brings value to other people.
I would say like you can always research whatever it is that you're interested in. Let's say you want a field in marketing. You can always go, there's countless of content on marketing. And then you can look at that. Maybe you can summarize it, your takeaway, how do you apply your successes or failures regarding that field in specific, like what you learned. You're like, wow, do you know that you can do this? Like some posts are really like, those are cool. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that I can put a control blank to get here. Like I don't know, I can do like a Windows and then click a period and it comes out like the emoji bar or something. Like, there's so many things that you could share. And again, like remember, like you don't have to be the expert, but you just think of it as you're not teaching someone, you're sharing something that you've learned or that you know and that you think other people could probably benefit from it because they're valuable information.
I really like that point, Lynn. Like you said, like you could always do research to make a career shift, right? Like maybe you're just starting off in your career, you're a freshman, still in high school, or you just want to make a career shift, right? You can tailor your content, tailor your brand, your voice to be towards something you're working towards, right? Like I know a lot of people on LinkedIn just started posting about, I'm thinking of one example, like started posting about AI, loved AI, was, did a lot of reading on AI, research, personal interest, YouTube, watched a lot of videos, just started creating content. It wasn't anything that was brand new, wasn't new ideas, wasn't made, wasn't any kind of revolutionary idea. It was just creating content. And the more he created content, actually, the more he learned about it and the more he became an expert in the space, right? So even if you want to think about it this way, to your posts could be a way of you documenting your learning, right? Don't even think about, other people involved in that. Think about, this is a way for me to document my knowledge for other people to publicly see that I'm interested in AI and then for them to consider me for that space, even though I may not have direct relevant experience, quote unquote, whether that's an internship or job on my resume. Through my content, people see me as this AI person and therefore consider me for these next opportunities.
Y5, I would do a Y5. That was cool. I love that. See, again, like another emphasis is like you can show that you're passionate about a specific topic because I think people, now correct me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming that whenever you recruit someone, you want to see whether they have like really genuine interest in it, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Like, so, you want to show that you're passionate about something and content is one way to do that. You're constantly writing about it. People are gonna know like, this person's interested. And so that's why I say like, the more you get into whatever specific field that you want, the more you're gonna find a community, the people, the friends, so many things that happens, like serendipity, right?
I agree.
Yeah. So I think something that's interesting is like I think with like personal profile, what do you think about the ones where it says the green? It says open to work or open to hiring, I think.
Yeah. I don't know why there's so much negative like comms about that. Like I don't really maybe I'm missing something. I think it's like a great way to tell people that you're open for a job, and that just communicates to me as a recruiter like, great, like I can consider him for a job, or it's not going to take me to sell him to leave his current position or current, I know that they're available. I'm not really sure why there's so much fuss and fuss about it being a bad thing. I'm not really sure. Do you know anything more about that?
I can only assume based on what I've read. It was just kind
Yeah.
of like it. And I hate to use this word, but some have said like it gives you the impression that you like are desperate. But I don't think that should be the case, right? Like you're always like
Yeah,
looking. You should always be open. Be
exactly.
open minded. You know, like even people get hired all the time, even if they aren't applying. So, but they are open to work. But it's definitely, but they do say that, like you want to focus on your branding more so that people just remember that you're
Mm,
branding and not that you're hiring, that you're looking
mm.
to be hired, right? So, but I would say like focus on your personal brand. I think that's like the number one thing that you want to focus on when it comes to LinkedIn, because that's where I'm assuming that recruiters are looking at a lot.
I think
Yeah.
someone from TechPod made a good comment in a comment that says, I think the idea is that you're unwanted because you don't already have an offer. That's an interesting point, but I would argue against that. I don't know. I really don't see any negative value of doing it. I mean, like people post all the time on LinkedIn, right? Being like, hey, I lost my job, or hey, I'm graduating, I don't have a job, asking my community for help. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I actually think there's a huge aspect of humbleness that comes with that, right? The idea that you have to be humble and realize like, hey, I'm asking for help from my community. I'm asking for help from my network, to reach my goal, to reach my dream. And a lot of those times, those posts go viral because, people want to help each other, right? We're all human beings. Someone has helped us. We want to help someone else, right? That's my point, I would say.
I like that you mentioned like the idea of network, because I think like another thing that content helps when you create them is that you naturally build up a network of
Yeah.
people. You befriend them. And that has been like really wonderful in my case.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any personal stories on like how content like help you? So like maybe not in a recruiting sense, but more of like a personal thing?
Oh, yeah. I've made so many friends, like you said, in the past year. People that I like now text pretty religiously. We just like
Yeah.
comment on funny things, just like people that are just like friends. Like when I think back to it, I'm like, oh, I've never met this person before. Like I've never met them in real life,
Yeah.
which is hilarious. Jonathan and Jerry I met pretty early on last year, and I had the chance to meet them during the summer in person, which was just so
Really
real. Yeah,
nice.
it was a great kind of like full circle. Of course, we were COVID safe and all that, but it was just so nice full circle to like meet someone you met online and someone I consider a good friend of mine, to meet them in person. But yeah, there's so many relationships of people that I go to for questions. People that I ask for referrals, ask for further opportunities, right? People who, if I was to, start a new business or start to do a side hustle, people would want to work with, right? These are people who, not add value to my life on a much bigger scale, right? It's not about getting a job. It's not about, making more money. It's just about meeting new people. And the realistic idea is that, in the past year, we're in a pandemic, right? Like it hasn't been easy to meet people. And I'm so grateful that I can say like, oh, I've met, I made 10 more friends last year. Unfortunately, we weren't able to go out and leave the house, but like I made 10 new friends that I can say, these are my genuine friends that I know will last a lifetime and have my back.
Yeah. I would say like having a personal brand makes it really easy to make friends, or make it easier to make friends, because they recognize you often. It's like that repetitive, like always seeing the content.
Yes.
And then you end up having mutual friends, and then it's just like a network, right? Because I think like a lot, like Product Buds and Tech Pod. Like I'm in Product Buds and Tech Pod, right? And it's like it's just like connecting dots. Like I'm on the team for both. It's like a bunch of like connecting the dots about who we know who, and end up like I end up just knowing so many people within like this small pocket, and to me it's just like it's so cool. I guess we can't. Go ahead.
Oh, I was also going to say, once you have a personal brand, right, it's easier for people to connect with you, right? Like if someone random was to message me and I hadn't seen them on my comments, or they don't have like a built out profile, it's a lot harder for me to like really connect with that person. Not to say that I wouldn't, by no means, but it just is harder to do so when you don't have mutual connections, when you don't have, a brand, or you don't have a story, or just like, I don't know anything about you, it's harder to be friends, right? But if two people have, consistent posts, or just kind of a story behind them, or at least an updated LinkedIn profile, right? When we connect, we instantly have this like form of commonalities or conversation topics that we can start on.
Yeah. So let's talk about, so we've been talking about a lot about like what to do. Let's talk about what not to do. So I think that's going to be an interesting conversation. Yeah, what do you, let's have you start.
Oh, where should we start? Like messaging or posts?
Oh, I think messaging is something people will want to know for sure.
Oh, yeah. I get so many messages a day, and it is, it's funny.
It's hard to go through all of them.
It's really hard. I try my best. I will say I haven't been doing as good, honestly, recently, because it's just been overwhelming, and for my mental health, it is not healthy to continue to go through them. But I've seen a lot of really successful messages, but on the flip side, a lot of very, very unsuccessful messages. Everything from the hi that is literally like HII. That's literally the entire message.
I don't understand that. I
don't understand that. Or people that are just like, all the way down to the uncomfortable messages that are like, "Hey, beautiful," like that is not appropriate on LinkedIn.
I don't understand that. Why? I to this day, I'm sitting, I'm like, I don't understand how that works.
There are dating apps for that is not appropriate on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
To the messages that are just like, are well-intentioned, but are just boring, for a fact of the matter, like just don't have a pizzazz, don't have like anything that I can grab onto, right? Like nothing that makes me want to respond, right? Like I could, but it almost feels like a chore to respond, or it doesn't feel like there's a human behind the screen, right? And a long time ago, when I first started posting on LinkedIn, I created a post that was like a LinkedIn messaging template for recruiters, which is a great way to start. I think that's, if you're starting to write messages and you don't really know what to say, you're just uncomfortable, I think that's a great place to start. But a year, has passed, and I've received thousands of those kind of messages. And I will say, like, there is value in the sense that it is very concise, direct to the point. But if you're really wanting to make a connection with someone, like that's probably not the best way to go. Sure, it gets your information across. If someone is, a recruiter is looking to hire you for a position, that's probably direct and to the point, and that's great. But if you want to actually make a connection, make a friendship, have a lasting relationship, that's not going to work, right? So on the flip side, messages that really matter or make a difference to me, right, or something just personal, right? Someone, whether that's commenting, telling me, they enjoy my posts, or a specific topic that they've seen on my LinkedIn, or calling out, a podcast I was on, and a specific, sentence I said during that podcast, right? Like, thank you so much for just engaging with my content, first of all, right? Or people who have like, just like unique asks, like, right, people ask me all the time to like review, a startup they're doing, right? I'm always happy to help, and that's just like a unique way to build a relationship, right? Like it's fun for me. I get to like learn about your, what excites you and what makes you happy, but it's also, you get value too. Like there's equal value in both. What else? Yeah, messages don't have to be long, right? They can be short and choppy.
Yeah.
And the long messages are usually the ones that I'm kind of intimidated on the other side to respond.
Because you have to think about like the time commitment you have to put into it. Like the shorter you make it, the more they're like they can respond faster to you. From my experience. But then on the flip side, like if it's like a long one, but it's really personal, and how it kind of like talk about like sharing your story, and like I really enjoy what you're doing, and then we like. There's so many different ways to approach a message, but there are definitely bad ways to do it, which is like to say hi, or like, hey, how are you? Like that's, so many people are gonna message someone that's saying how are you, and that means we have to put in the initial, like the other side of, we have to put energy into pushing that conversation, right? You want to be able to take away all the friction of that, make it as how do I say it, just reduce the friction of the other person having to respond, and they will respond. And then you just kind of grab on into what you think, like how they are, and then you just having a conversation.
Yeah,
I think
one message had a good comment here in the comments. He says, he sends lots of message to people who, he thinks will improve his development, but sometimes he doesn't receive a reply, right? I think just one thing to point out, it's not necessarily, things not to do on LinkedIn, but don't take things personally, right? Sometimes
100%. Yep.
sometimes people won't respond. Trust me, I get a lot of not responses, which is like people are surprised, like, it's usually like you're so popular and have a brand on LinkedIn. Like, it doesn't matter. People just don't check their LinkedIn. People don't like to respond to messages.
So
It
many
doesn't matter.
reasons.
Yeah. And that's nothing to do with who you are, them not caring about you. No, it has nothing to do with that. And, if someone doesn't respond, move on to the next person, move on to the next person. And if you have a genuine intention, like Lynn said, like, don't ask, hi, how are you? Because that requires a lot of work on both ends. Be genuine and know, what is your intention? Is it asking a question? Is it complimenting their post? Is it asking about, a specific experience, commenting on an interest they had, providing them value? A lot of people, like I posted about creating my website. A lot of people responded with, interest to help me, right? Whenever I ask for feedback, people follow up with like, interesting conversations. Today, I posted a comment on Jerry's post about like, the candidate who went around to give donuts to tech companies to try to land a job.
Cute. I like that.
It was cute. But anyways, I made a funny comment which was like, if you can give me avocados in a fruit basket, I'll get you a job, which was a joke. Please don't send me any of those. But like people message me and they're like, hey, what's your address? Like, let me send you some gifts, which was funny. It was obviously a joke, but it just sparked a conversation that, next time someone, that person messaged me, I'm like, I remember that person. They wanted to send me a fruit basket, which was just funny,
Yeah, like be personal, be fun, like have fun. Like, again, like we're not like, just a professional. We are also a human being on the side. Like, we're just super casual. We love funny things. Definitely go through that route. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
What else should we not do? Oh, posts. Maybe we should talk about what not to do in posts. I think in terms of posts, like I will say, like, there are certain things that work with the LinkedIn algorithm if you're trying to like be successful, and certain things that I would say maybe don't do as successful. But at the end of the day, make sure you just post about things that matter to you. Don't really worry about the algorithm, because if it's something that matters to you and it's personal, at the end of the day, it will always do well, because consistent posts will grow your brand regardless, right? In my opinion, when I create posts, kind of like what I think about is the most like successful are posts that either I think, in my opinion, have a tangible takeaway. So something that you can provide value for. So, some of my most successful posts on LinkedIn are the ones that, like, I created a resume document, which is like a 10-page document writing about how to create a resume, right? Did really well. Or my posts that have really direct, specific tips, like, this is how you should rename your resume title, right, of your file. This is how you should message a recruiter, right? Very, very tangible things that people can take away from my post, right? Something that will make people want to save that post, will make someone want to reshare that post, right? I will say tangible things tend to do well. How about in your experience, Lynn?
I would say like, so like to add on a little bit about like your like tangible value. Definitely share it if it's so obvious to you. It's not obvious to other people at all. Like, let's say like for you, like, I mean, Anastasia, you're a recruiter. So a lot of things that seem obvious to you might not be obvious to job seekers. Maybe the things that are obvious to me, the things that I know about creating content, creating like the things that we were just discussing right now, like the audit profile, like those sort of things that were obvious to me and you because we have experience in it. And then or just simply share, and maybe someone might not know one of the information that we just say, and like, aha, that's news to me. Like, we will never know what others don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. So. I will also say one other thing that generally does well, if you think about, like, I kind of learned this as I went along, but how does the LinkedIn algorithm pick up posts? And again, like, I'm not an expert. I don't know if this like is like the right or wrong way. I don't know the code behind this platform, but what I've learned is that, in order for your post to continue to grow on LinkedIn, get more likes and grow an audience, you want to make sure that you have a conversation going, whether that's people resharing or in the comments, right? So posts that start conversations or start discussions are posts that are always going to do well, because what that means is the LinkedIn algorithm sees like, hey, this post did well with the first 5 people, all first 5 people that we shared it to liked and commented. Great. That means the next 10 people that we share it to are also going to enjoy it, right? After that, 10 people liked and commented, it grows and grows and grows, right? Because, if it sees that people are jumping into the discussion and wanting to add value to the discussion, then it sees it as a valuable post and it continues to grow it.
Yeah, I definitely say like conversation, like when people are commenting, like it has this network effect, like, right? Because your network are going to see it. So whoever commented, their network's going to see it and so on. And that person's network sees it.
Yes.
Then it literally just climbs in that sense, right? And so you want to start a conversation. And what starts a conversation is if people feel a certain way about your post.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's something to encourage a conversation. The things that you don't want to do, they don't want to put like all block like into like a really dense paragraph. Like, like you want people to read it. So in order to do that, you have to space it out like one or from 1 to 3 sentences. They don't do like one sentence like a poetry, but like kind of like 1 or 2 sentences, like, and then space out and make sure that there's white space, because a lot of us, we're reading on our phone or we're reading it on it. We want to be able to make sure that we can read them and not feel like we have to put a lot of work into reading that, right? So don't scatter a bunch of like emojis like mid conversation, like, make it a good flow, a good reading flow, like a full complete sentences. Like you can add emojis, and not saying not to do. I'm just saying that don't put like weird places or where it's gonna disrupt the reading flow. Don't put so many hashtag because it makes the purpose is the content. Like the thing that's gonna give the most value is not the hashtag but the content. And actually, fun fact, what I do with the hashtag is I always end it with hashtag Linsights. And so what people would always connect me with the word Linsights all the time. They're like, because it means that they read all the way to the bottom, and I always place it at the bottom. And that's also something I do.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. I was going to say, oh man, when you're creating content, think about it. For me, I had to actually relearn kind of how to write in a sense, which is, I think, pretty unique to LinkedIn, is that you want to create digestible, quick content, right? Things that can be quickly, easy, and picked up. So when you're writing, somewhere else, you add a lot of fluff to sentences, whether that's transitions, whether that's, just add extra value to sentences that when people read, like, sure, it like makes the sentence like sound good, but like it loses people's attention. So instead of saying like, I lost my job, people say like, unfortunately, at this time, it seems like, this company has let me go. Just get to the point, and just like quick and easy. And I find that people, in this day and age, when we have a short attention span, that's what posts do well. When it's quick and easy, you read through the post in a minute or 2, you've picked up the value and you move on, right?
I would also say like make it engaging. Make it like write it like you would speak. I think that's one of the tips that is like it's really helpful whenever because like it's like you're being read, like you're being talked to directly. I felt like those are really helpful. So and to me, whenever I read, maybe it's a personal opinion, but even if it's like so long, as long as it's constantly valuable, engaging, makes me want to continue, I will read all the way to the bottom, like without skipping a word, or maybe I would skim and scan. But the point was like be write in a way that's gonna really provide, but don't make it actually don't put that much pressure on yourself. But when you take this content creation like seriously, like super serious, and like that's your main goal, like then you want to learn to optimize how to
totally
make the post better.
Start off with just posting, just whatever it is, post it, whatever format it is. As you start to grow, you'll pick up what works, what doesn't, and you'll figure it out. It's not, there's no right or wrong way. I've seen people with blog posts do really well on LinkedIn too. So like we said, we're all just figuring it out. We don't know the right answer, but
there is no perfect answer. There's just general, like this is what generally works. And then you just have to keep experimenting and try.
Agreed. Awesome.
We are like hitting like the hour mark.
I know.
Yes,
Went
but that
by
was
so fast.
fun. Yes, it was so fun. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and don't forget to you can always follow Anastasia on her LinkedIn. Like she have awesome content. There are so many things that I love, and often people would share me your posts, Anastasia, all the time. I was like, yes, I know, and I'm gonna talk to her today. I know, but yeah, it's very exciting. And so just a little quick plug, TechPod, our newsletter, please check it out. We talk about like fun tech things, and Anastasia is actually a mentor. Are you a mentor?
I
with
am a
TechPod?
mentor. Yes, it's been
Well, like,
a lot
so
of. Oh, yes,
you were saying?
I was going to say, like I said in the start of the presentation, TechPods is something I've been a huge fan of. So definitely do sign up for their newsletter, give them a follow, show them some love, because they put a lot of work into what they do to provide opportunities like this to bring this platform on. Like it seems super flawless on the back end, on the front end, but on the back end there's a lot of preparation, organization. Operations that go into it. And Lynn, thanks so much for hosting. Like I know you put together a lot of content and questions to prepare. So I appreciate you, and thanks for thinking of me to invite.
Thank you. This is super, super awesome. And don't forget, we actually, TechPod is on Clubhouse tonight. If you're interested in having a Clubhouse invite, we are raffling them off, and we are still raffling them off. We might even raffle 10 Clubhouse invites. If you guys go to our newsletter and go to our latest newsletter, scroll all the way to the bottom. We have a little survey, and then we will actively write it. And so let us know that you're actually coming from this YouTube event, and then we'll send you some tech invites, because we're having an HR event panel. Okay, thank you everybody so much for attending. It was a super awesome conversation. It was super, super awesome. See you guys soon for future events.
Bye guys. See you later.